Hey guys, back again here. I'm going to show you something that I picked up at an antique mall yesterday in Des Moines, Iowa. So yesterday was Sunday. There was a sports card show that I set up at, and on the way home, I always like to stop at this antique mall. So every couple months, I walk through there and see if there's anything I can find. This is the Brass Armadillo in Des Moines, Iowa. So it's kind of on the way home. Usually I can find something, and this time I found something that I think is very unique. So I'll show you here. It's a handbill from Ozzy Osbourne 1982 concert that was held in Des Moines. So that in itself doesn't sound all that unique, but this specific concert is the concert where he bit the head off a bat. And maybe you guys are familiar with the story or not, but I was somewhat familiar with it. I knew that it had happened, but I think what happens is, so like this was in a Coliseum, the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. I don't know how many people it holds, but I think there was like 5,000 people there at the time. And maybe it's the music, somehow there's bats up in the rafters and they become disoriented. I'm guessing it's the music and they become unconscious. And I think one of these bats fell from the rafters and a fan picked it up and threw it up on stage. Well, Ozzy, he thought it was like a rubber bat. He put it in his mouth and he bit the head off it. And come to find out, it was real. So what happened was, after that, he realized it was real. I think they just probably continued on with the concert, but I think there's actually footage of him biting the head off the bat. And I'm going to put a link in below of an interview he did on David Letterman. I found that when I was kind of looking into this. It's a pretty good interview, but the interview was actually from March of that year, and his guitarist, Randy Rhoads, died like a week before this interview. So I was surprised that he would go on, because I know that incident of Randy Rhoads passing away, he died in a plane crash. That really hit Ozzy hard, I know that. But anyways, he was on Letterman, and he talked about this incident, and he mentions that he thought it was fake. And after the fact, he had to go to the hospital, get rabies shots and all this stuff. So it was a big ordeal for him. But I think in the long run, it probably helped his career, and like the type of music he played and the type of people that the fans he had and everything. But, this is a really unique item. There's a few handbills on eBay from 1982, but they're not this one. And I just feel like this is one of the most infamous on-stage events probably in the history of concerts. I can't really think of many others. You have like maybe Jimi Hendrix, some of the Woodstock, happenings, some of the events that took, on stage, maybe the Doors, some things like that. But, this one, just, I didn't even really know a whole lot about it, but it seems like this one really stands out as far as like, the history of concerts. What else can you think of that tops this? The only thing I can really think of is Jimi Hendrix, some of the things that he did on stage. But anyways, I really have no idea what this would be worth, assuming that a regular handbill is worth $100. I'm not sure how to price this. Maybe I'll keep it for a while, but like I said, I'll put a link to the David Letterman interview below. I think it's worth watching that one. And Ozzy, people kind of assume he's kind of like a bumbling idiot, but when Black Sabbath's first album came out, I think he was like 19 years old. That was in 1968. And that is, in my mind, that's at least a top 10 album, if not greater. The fact that he was able to do that at 19 years old, those guys were all, super young. And that is one of the most, it has to be one of the most influential albums really in history. I mean, you probably have like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and a few others that you could argue are greater, but in my mind, just the music itself and the influence that it would have had on a lot of people, the it started a whole new genre basically of heavy metal. Um, so that's my thought on his career, and personally I think he is without a doubt a musical genius. Um, anyways, I'll let you guys know if I ever happen to sell this. I'm not that worried about selling it, to be honest with you, but I paid $10 for it, and who knows what it's actually worth. But I felt like it was worth making a video about this piece itself. It also came with some newspaper articles from the time. So I think this was from probably the Des Moines Register, a few of these, or some other local. Here's a Des Moines Tribune. So it was pretty neat that it also had these. The Des Moines Tribune again. That it had these copied newspaper articles along with it. Like I said, you guys, you don't limit yourself to any one thing. If you're looking to flip and make money or looking for collectibles or something like that, this is I think this is a really good example of something. And who knows how many people walk by this, but in my mind, this is probably the most, as far as the price and what it's actually worth, is probably the most valuable thing in that whole mall. And it's a big place, but there was probably all kinds of people that had walked by this, didn't really look at it and realize that, hey, this is like one of the most historic, say what you will about Ozzy or the actual incident or whatever, but this is one of the most historic events that have happened on stage. So, just don't limit yourself to any specific item, whether it's baseball cards or whatever it is, stamps or coins or whatever. I would say try to branch out, try to learn as much as you can about other things. And even say this was $10, I don't know anything about handbills, but it is what it is. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to have a video on the card show that I did. I picked a whole bunch of stuff up there, so should be pretty interesting for some of you guys. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned.